is officially 2024 and we're going to talk about the books I'm excited to read this year. Now, I have a list of anticipated reads. I'm going to go all through them. Some of them, they don't even have covers and some don't even have synopsis, but they're part of a series that I'm already invested in. So we're going to go through all of these books. And there's probably some that I'm forgetting. We're not going to lie because I just made this list like 2 weeks ago and I feel like I'm missing a lot, but these are the ones that I remembered, and yeah, we're gonna start from here and then build throughout the year because in the grand scheme of things, this is not a lot of books and I'm gonna read way more than this anyway. Let's start. We're gonna go in order of publication. We're starting with the books in January. The first book is Stay With Me by Brooke Montgomery. This is the second book in her Sugarland Creek series. I did read the first one. There was things that I liked about the first one and things that I disliked about it as well, but I am invested in the series. There are some things that are very intriguing, and the couple for this book was teased in book one. And if I remember correctly from the first book, it's going to be a best friend's brother and she's pregnant, but not with his baby, from what I can remember. So anyway, I'm excited about this one. It has horses and ranchers and stuff like that. So I'm really into that. A lot of my TikTok is filled with like horse stuff now. I've never even really been around horses, but like I like stuff like that. So anyway, I'm invested in the series. We're gonna see how it goes. Hopefully book 2 is better than book 1. It releases on January 24th. The next book I'm excited about is Head Over Heels by Carla Sorensen. She just actually recently announced this book, and all I have is the tropes that are included because she did post about them the other day. So this one also releases on January 24th as well. Oh, and this is a part of her like Wilder family series. I think it's gonna be book 3 in it. She doesn't tend to label them as like a series until like after they're completed. I don't know why, because it's easier to find the books on Amazon when they're linked as a series. But anyway, I digress. We have Cinnamon Roll Hero, Opposites, A Big Family, because it is kind of like a Brady Bunch situation with this Wilder family. Trapped in an Elevator, Meet Cute. And I don't know why, but this is a like meet cute that I really actually like. There is a book called Hearts in Darkness that I got at the 2016 RT convention, and it's a novella, and I believe it's by Laura Kay. And I love it so much. It's trapped in an elevator together and they don't even see each other because it's so dark. So anyway, I just really like that type of trope. And a city girl stuck in a small town. So I'm excited. I think that this is the brother that maybe is in charge of like, they have like a carpentry business, like building and stuff like that. So I think that maybe it's a brother that's involved with that possibly. I don't know. I haven't read the series in a while, so don't quote me on that one. And then of course, House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. So in anticipation for this, I have already reread A Court of Thorns and Roses, that entire series up until Silver Flames, and part of my January TBR is going to be rereading the first 2 Crescent Cities. And yeah, there's a lot that I know that I forgot about book 2. I have read book 1 a few times and I'm excited to read it again. And yeah, it's, I mean, a little bit of a spoiler, but the worlds are converging, so that's why I decided to reread A Court of Thorns and Roses, just to make sure that I wasn't forgetting some details about that, because yeah, I don't know, it's gonna be a wild ride. I didn't even read the synopsis at all. I didn't want to see it. I don't even know if it's there. I just know that I want to read it. And when I have books like this where I'm like, I'm gonna read it no matter what, I'm excited. I just want it to take me where the author wants to take me and I don't want to know anything about it. Like, I will not read the synopsis for it. So I have not, and I don't want any spoilers. I don't want anybody in my DMs telling me about the book until you know that I have read it, because the amount of times that this has happened to me where I've had to work when a book releases and I physically cannot get to read it as fast as I normally can and then have it spoiled, like, this book just cannot be spoiled. I will be devastated. I will cry if this book is spoiled for me before I have a chance to read it. I hate discussing a book until I'm done reading it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, that book releases on January 30th. Whew, it's gonna be a wild ride. Now this next one, Bride by Allie Hazelwood. So I did read The Love Hypothesis and I liked it, but I wasn't like in love with it. But I don't know, I'm kind of intrigued and I haven't read anything else. I believe she has another book and I never read it, because I was just like, I don't know. I don't think Allie Hazelwood's for me. Now she's going to write a paranormal. And I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. And apparently it's like a vampire bride and like an alpha werewolf pairing or something like that. And so I think it's like a little bit of a forbidden romance. I haven't read too much into it, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I'm going to pick it up and see what it's all about. Give Allie a second chance and see if she's for me, maybe. That releases on February 6th. Then of course, The Wickedness of the Highlander. So this book was originally supposed to be released at the end of December, but she pushed it back to February 13th. This is a part of her Midnight in Scotland series, which I absolutely love. Lisa Braden's Midnight in Scotland series. It's one of my favorite historical romance series. I believe that this pairing is Alexander and, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Her name starts with an S, but these two characters, we've been seeing them in the background for a couple of books, and it's a highly anticipated read for me because it's been a while since she's published a book in this series. She's had, you know, personal things going on in her life, and she hasn't been able to write as much as she usually does, so I'm just excited that we're going to get more books from Elisa Braden, and yeah. This is one of my favorite historical series, so super anticipated read. The next one is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Now, this book may or may not have some romance in it. Years ago, I think in 2018, The Bear and the Nightingale came out, and I picked it up on a whim after it was published, and I really loved it. The way that she includes Russian mythology in that series, and also there is some romance in that series as well, but it's not a romance book, you know. I just really love her writing. I think it's fantastic. It reminds me a lot of Juliette Maurier, and I was just intrigued that she was coming out with another book, and I believe that this is actually set in maybe World War I. Yeah, okay, so this does say it's set during the Great War, and it's a hauntingly beautiful historical novel with a speculative twist. So we have a couple characters, or at least two that we're following, maybe two different POVs. Laura Ivan, she is a field nurse, and she gets wounded, and she has to go back, and her brother's still fighting in the war. And then she gets word that he died, but something's not making sense. Like, she gets his belongings back and she's like, I don't know, this doesn't make sense. It's not spelled out in the synopsis, like what exactly doesn't make sense. So she's basically going to return to Belgium and volunteer at a hospital and try to get to the bottom of this. And then we have the POV of her brother from a year earlier, or a couple months earlier. It says, you know, his POV is November 1917 and hers is January 1918. So we get to see what happens, and apparently he gets trapped with a German soldier. So I don't know if there's going to be a potential romance in this, but I really don't care because I like Catherine Arden's writing enough to stray away from my romantic tendencies to read whatever she's going to write. So I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued by this book. That also comes out on February 13th. On the 20th, In Wand of a Viscount by Lorraine Heath comes out. This is the third book in her Chessmen Masters of Seduction series. I read book 1 of the series. I thought it was a little convoluted. The plot was a little convoluted, and I didn't understand the references to chess. Like, I didn't feel like chess was a big enough part of the series to like warrant a whole series being titled The Chessmen and their nicknames being chess pieces. So like, I just didn't understand it, but I'm willing to give it another shot, and I'm hoping that maybe since this is book 3, that the story and the characters feel a little bit more like cohesive. I don't know. It just didn't feel like she knew her characters very well in book 1. So I didn't read book 2, but I'm intrigued by book 3, okay? The heroine apparently visits a ladies club, and then she has a kiss with a mysterious stranger, and it turns out to be one of our chessmen. I think his name is Brooke. And I think that he's the type of character, the type of hero that is trying to be like very straight-laced, try to like not put a toe out of line because his father had like a horrible reputation, and maybe like him falling for this American woman like puts that to the test, especially since he was the stranger that was caught kissing at a ladies club and stuff. So like, what was he doing there? Anyway, very interested to give this series a second try. On March 4th, the 4th book in the Cherry Tree Harbor series comes out. It's called Small Town Swoon. And I think this one is going to be, from what I can remember, because there's no synopsis. She did post like a kind of a little teaser on Instagram, no real synopsis, but I do believe that the heroine, who is a waitress at the small town, has had like a long time childhood crush on the hero. The hero is part of like the family that we're following. His name is Dash, and he moved to California and he has become like a movie star. And I don't know what's gonna make him return to the small town of Cherry Tree Harbor, but yeah, there has definitely been lots of hints in the previous books that these two were gonna get together, that there's been something. I don't know if something's happened with them in the past, but I'm intrigued. And I really like the small town series. This one's a big one. This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I feel like I need to reread book 1 because I remember getting like vibes from the heroine of this book. Gosh, I'm gonna mispronounce her name, but I think it's Soledad. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I feel like I need to listen to the audiobook to make sure that I'm pronouncing it right. The first book was so emotional, and I did cry while reading it, so I'm a little bit like hesitant to go back into it and reread it, but I feel like I do need to. But I'm so excited. Kennedy Ryan is such an emotional writer. She does just so many things that I just make me like pause while I'm reading, and I'm just like in awe of her skill. So I'm very excited about this series. This is book 2 in the Skyland series. And from what I can remember, she is in a relationship in book 1 with somebody, but like you can tell as, you know, an outside person looking in that relationship's not gonna last. And I do believe that maybe he like betrays her or breaks up with her or something, and she might be blindsided by that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what type of hero she's going to be paired with. So yeah, I'm probably going to reread the first book before this one comes out, and I've already pre-ordered it. I think I pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble edition too. I don't know. There's like so many different editions coming out of books. It's kind of making me a little insane because I am a collector, but like when Amazon has one edition and Barnes & Noble and then Books A Million has another edition, and each of them include like different things, I'm like, you're forcing me to spend money. I know that this is the purpose, but like, it's a little much. It's a little much having so many editions. Like one person gets one special edition and that's it. That should be it. That should be it. But anyway, sorry. That was a rant that I didn't know that I was gonna go on. Then we have Blitz, which is the second book in the Treasure State Wildcat series by Devaney Perry. This is just like a football sports romance, and I don't know, like football or sports romance in general is kind of one of those like palate cleanser books that I like to read. I don't know. Just like sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I just need a sports romance in my life. I just love them. It's like a guilty pleasure type of trope that I'm like, I don't even know what it is about the sports romances that I love so much, but I just do. So yeah, that one comes out on March 7th. Then, so I haven't read, or at least I don't remember ever reading a Sophie Jordan historical romance, but I'm intrigued by The Duchess, which is the second book in the Scandalous Ladies of London series. And I did see this while I was on NetGalley, and I was just like, intriguing. Very different type of historical romance cover than what I'm used to seeing. But apparently the heroine is a dowager duchess, so she has been married and her husband has died. And then she's like kind of living her best life because she's single, and I don't know, her marriage may have been like just not the greatest. But I think it's the new duke that's like the heir to the dukedom, because I'm assuming she never had kids. So whoever is his distant relative is come to claim the dukedom, and he is a big brawny Welshman with an accent, and he's like nothing like the nobleman of the ton. And like, I love this for her, and I'm like, yes, please. It reminds me of like a Reese Winterbourne character. You know how I love Lisa Kleypas, and I'm just like, could this be like a Reese? Kind of like, oh God, yes, please, 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 please. So yeah, I'm gonna try my hand at a Sophie Jordan, and that one comes out on March 26th. Then Elsie Silver announced a new series. The first book in her Rose Hill series is called Wild Love, coming out on April 9th. Again, we just have tropes for now. We have a brother's best friend, single dad. Love a single dad so much. It's just one of my tropes that I really like. He falls first. Love to see a guy that's like totally head over heels and not being a little fuckboy. And childhood frenemies to lovers vibe. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant to be excited about this book just because in the last series that Elsie Silver wrote, the first 2 books in that series, Flawless and Heartless, were like so good in my mind. And the series as a whole kind of had like a downward slope in my opinion. Not everyone felt the same, but I just did not feel like the stories were being written for the characters. And I go into detail on that if you want to go watch my other video about best and worst books of the year or most disappointing books or whatever. But this is like a fresh start, a fresh series, and so I'm intrigued to see what she has in store for us. I hope that some of the things that I don't like about some of her books or some of her more recent books do not appear in this series, because I've also read her Gold Rush Ranch series, which I love. I felt like all those books got better as they were written. So I don't know. She has it in her, and I'm not ready to let her go. I'm not ready to let her go yet, so yeah, I'm excited about Wild Love. Also on April 9th, Aelia by Minerva Spencer is coming out. I despise these covers. They are just so slapped together. Like I just really hate them, and like I feel like this series is really good. The first one has a lot of flaws that I have issues with, but books 2 and books 3 are so solid. They're such great historical romances, and I feel like less people are going to pick them up because of these covers, or they're kind of horrendous. Anyway, I'm really excited about Aelia. It does say that it's going to be like a Beauty and the Beast type of trope situation, but what I do know from the previous books, what I know of Aurelia's character, she's the eldest of all the sisters, and she's an artist, and she specifically draws pictures for like a kind of National Geographic type of thing, like specimen pictures, and she has been publishing them under like a pseudonym that's a male name, and then she gets hired by like this really like famous something in the sciencey world, don't quote me on it, but she gets hired and she cannot pass up this opportunity because her family needs money. And like all the books kind of take place simultaneously, so all the sisters are trying to find a way to rescue their family from destitution because their parents are just like horrible with money. So Aurelia's like, I have to take this assignment. Like, he thinks I'm a man, but I'm gonna go anyway, and once I'm there, hopefully he won't throw me away. So I don't know what's gonna happen in this situation, but I'm very intrigued. Like I said, I really love books 2 and books 3. And Beauty and the Beast trope, always love that. So on April 23rd is My Season for a Scandal by Julie Ann Long. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even read the synopsis for this one. I just really liked Julie Ann Long's books. I discovered her last year, or the year before last year. I think I started reading her Pennyroyal Green series, and those books to me got progressively better. And I started this series earlier this year, and I was just like really blown away by it. I don't believe that these characters, I can't remember from the last book that I read in the series that there was any teasing about future pairings. So I feel like, and she's done this before, where there's just like random people who come stay at this Grand Palace on the Thames, which is a recently refurbished inn, but it used to be a brothel, so it has like a bad reputation, and the two women who own it are trying to like rehabilitate the image of this inn, and they have books 1 and books 2 in the series. So anyway, a lot of the characters, a lot of the couples are like visitors at the inn and stuff, so I don't know. I don't think that I'm interested in reading the synopsis. I just want to like see where it takes us. But yeah, I can't be quite sure if it was teased what the next couple was going to be, but I don't think so. I'm just really excited to read more Julie Ann Long, more historicals. I feel like this year there's definitely a potential for historical to compete with contemporary. Last year, I feel like contemporary still edged out historical. I just feel like there are just more contemporary out there, but historical romance, I feel like I have an easier time finding that swoon factor that I'm missing from some contemporary romances. So yeah, don't be surprised if you see like a lot more historical romances on my list. On May 14th, Elle Kennedy has the second book in her Campus Diary series. This is like a next-gen spinoff series from the, I always forget like what the first series is called, the Off-Campus series, and also Briar U. Like all of them happened at the same time, and everyone like loves those series by Elle Kennedy. So she decided to write like the children of those characters. Book 1, The Graham Effect, I really liked it. Weirdly enough, it took me a while to actually read it after it was published because I was worried that like my nostalgia for The Deal and all that, like I love those books and I reread them and I still really love them. And I was worried that it just was not going to be as good. Like I wasn't going to be as invested. I don't know why in their children's romances, but it really surprised me and I really liked it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Dixon Effect, or the Dixon Rule, sorry. I'm really looking forward to that one. And yeah, I'm just happy to be back on Briar U campus, having more hockey romances. You can't have enough hockey romances, or at least not right now. I haven't gorged myself enough to be tired of them yet. Savor It by Tara DeWitt is coming out on May 21st. I've not read the synopsis for this one. This is another one of those instances where I'm just like, I really loved what I have read by Tara DeWitt. I've only read Funny Feelings and Rootbound, but they have so much like heart and I just really like them. They were both very, very, very different. And I don't know, I don't really know what Savor It is about. Maybe it has stuff to do with food, but it's one of those instances where I'm just like, I don't want to read the synopsis. I just want to go in and experience the book because I just really love her writing style. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. The only information I have about it is this cover in the title, by choice. Now recently, Devney Perry has announced that she's gonna be starting another new series. I'm assuming her Eden series has completed and that's why she's starting this new one. I did read the first 3 books in her Eden series, but I fell off because one of the books made me extremely mad. So I was like, I'm not reading anymore in this series. I have read other books by Devney Perry that I like, but I'm gonna let this series go and not like rag on it or whatever. But I am intrigued that this is going to be like a fresh start new series, and it's called Crossroads, and this series is called Haven River Ranch. And so I believe it might be following another family. She tends to follow families, which I like, and they're the Havens, which is also funny because Claire Kingsley has a series with the Haven brothers, and it's like a small town romance. So anyway, I just think it's pretty funny because I'm also anticipating the next book in that series to be released in 2024 as well. This one sounds like it's a second chance romance. All of Devney Perry's books are like in Montana, or most of them are. And it sounds like there was like a childhood romance up until the heroine was 23 and something breaks him apart. And she either moved away, I think they summer vacation in Montana, and then she doesn't return after they had like their falling out when she was 23. She doesn't return to Montana again. And so years down the line, I'm not sure how many years down the line, she returns and she's bought the ranch that I think either his family used to own or he works at or something. And so apparently she made a promise to not go back, but now she's back and she's the new owner. So second chance romance. It's not my favorite trope. It can be done in a way that I really like it though, so I'm going to give Devney Perry a shot at convincing me that this is a really good book. And that comes out on June 4th. And then we have Play Along by Liz Tom Ford. This is another book. It's coming out on June 11th. This is another book that I'm hesitant to be excited about because I had very high hopes for Caught Up, which was her most recent release in the series, the Windy City series. I loved book 1. Book 2 was one of my favorite contemporaries of 2023. But Caught Up, it took me a while to warm up to the story. I did feel like it suffered from some pacing issues, but it eventually got to a point where I was like, oh no, this is a Liz Tom Ford story. This is what I expect, this emotional, beautiful writing. And I don't know, it got there in the end, but it just, the book as a whole was not what I expected from Liz Tom Ford, what I had come to expect from her from book 1 and book 2. So I'm a little hesitant, and also because I believe, there's no synopsis out, but I believe at the end of Caught Up, it did say that the hero from Caught Up, it was his brother that was getting the next book. And I was disappointed because I feel like it was a mistake for Liz Tom Ford to not capitalize on Rio, who is a character that we see in book 1 and book 2. He's a hockey player. He is a rookie in book 1, and he becomes like this, like the best friend of Indy, who is the heroine in book 2, and like he has a big role to play like toward the end of book 2. And I just felt like it was probably the wrong move to save Rio, because you do see him like once in book 3, and it didn't even make much sense. Like he just like was there to have a cameo. But I feel like she did not capitalize on Rio soon enough, and now we're going to have this character who feels like Rio 2.0, but I don't like him. I will come out and say it. I do not like, if it's gonna be the brother of the hero of Caught Up, I got some ick vibes from him in book 3. I didn't love it. It was supposed to come off as funny. It was supposed to come off as like Rio-esque. He's like playful, kind of has like golden retriever energy. But like some of the things I was just like, no. He was like annoyingly persistent in pursuing one of the trainers or whatever that works for the baseball team, or physical therapist or something. And she's there in a professional capacity, and like I just felt like it was wrong place, wrong time, and he was making some jokes that were pretty like tasteless, and I was just like, I don't know. And I'm not one to like get bothered by stuff like that. Like I'm really not. Like I don't get like offended very easily. But he just wasn't. He was trying to be Rio, but he was coming off as like desperate in a way that I didn't think was attractive. So I'm willing to pick it up because Liz Tom Ford, and if anyone can convince me that this hero is lovable, it's her. But I really feel like Rio should have had the 3rd book. I really do. And we could have gone on to, I think it was Max might be the son in book 3. We could have gone on to the single dad and his brother for the next books. And I don't know. So I put it on my list because I'm gonna read it for sure. But I can't say that it's like one of my most anticipated. I'm like grudgingly a little bit afraid to pick it up, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And yeah. And then we make a huge jump from June to September because there's not very many books like in the latter half of 2024 that I remembered being announced already and that had dates already this early on in the year. But we do have The Wraith King by Juliet Cross. So this book was supposed to be released in January. Technically, I've read this book, but not really. I haven't read the version that's going to be out in September. I did do a I don't even think you can call it a beta read, more like an alpha read. I read part 1 for Juliet and then part 2, and I kind of gave my feedback on part 1 before she even finished part 2 and all that jazz. So like I was giving my opinion while she was still writing the book, which is not technically a beta read, but she did have some editing to do. She wanted to change some things about the book, and she has other commitments, so the release date got pushed back to the end of 2024 just because there's other books that she needs to publish first. And she wanted to give this book the attention that it deserved. She wants to put out the best version of it, you know? So I know that there's gonna be a lot of changes, and whatever version's coming out in September, it's not gonna be the same version that I've already read, and I'm very excited. I love this cover. The artist, Sander, is literally amazing. It takes her so long to make these covers, but they're so worth it. And honestly, it kind of works out because originally this was not planned to be a series, but Juliet and I both are suckers for series. It's hard to not get invested in side characters as a reader, and then Juliet still being a really big reader of romance, she, even in her own writing, is kind of like, oh, but I kind of like this side character and I want him to have a romance too. So this has become a series, and she did ask Thander if she could possibly, you know, do more covers in it, because originally it was only supposed to be a one-off, and Thander said yes. So now with the book being pushed back, it gives Thander an even longer time to fit the project for books 2 and 3 into her schedule, since it does take her a while to do the sketches and stuff like that. So anyway, very excited for The Wraith King, and yeah, these are the books that for sure have release dates. There's 2 others that I know are gonna get releases in 2024. They've just not been announced at all. There's no title, there's no date that's been released as far as I know. One of them I already mentioned is the Claire Kingsley. It's book 2 in the Haven Brothers series. She's writing kind of more romantic suspense. The first book in the series was like the suspense part was not the most intriguing part about it at all. It was very kind of like, I shoved it to the side and I was like, it's there, but I don't really care about the suspense part. The romance was so soft and sweet, and I just really loved it. So yeah, I am excited about books 2. And it is a spinoff from her, not the Grace brothers. There's so many connected series. Like the Miles family is connected to the Bailey brothers, not the Grace brothers, the Bailey brothers. And the Havens were in a rivalry with the Baileys, but now the Havens are getting their own series. So yeah, I'm just really excited. I don't know who's the next brother. I don't think she knew who was going to be the next brother yet, but she is currently writing something, and I believe it's this book. And then recently in December, I just binge read this hockey series by Rebecca Genshak. I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but it's the Wildcat series. And again, has like the soft and cozy vibes that I like. I don't know. There's not a whole ton of drama. There was one book that I was like, it missed the mark for me, but the rest of the series has been just spot on what I really loved. And I don't know who's going to be the next couple, but I do know that there is going to be a future couple, and I don't know if they're going to be maybe the last book in the series. Don't know how many books this author has planned for the series, but in book 2 we have the hero is Tyler, and he has this little sister named Everly, and she's 18, or she's about to turn 18. She doesn't get along with the mom, and she ends up by moving in with him, and he's, you know, a hockey player. And in the next couple of books, she becomes an adult, and then she goes off to college, and there's been some tension between her and another hockey player, and so I'm really rooting for Everly and the captain of her brother's hockey team. And I'm pretty sure they're definitely going to be together. If they're not, I'm going to be disappointed, because I feel like there's so many hints thrown out. I don't know if they're going to be the next book, but they're going to have a book. I'm predicting it. So yeah, whoever gets the next book in the Wildcat series, Wildcat number 5, I'm excited for it, and I'm going to read it. And that concludes all of the books that I'm aware of and have remembered being released in 2024 that I'm excited to read. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure some of you have remembered some that I forgot. So let me know in the comments below what you're excited to read in 2024. If there's some especially historical romances that you're excited to read in 2024, I would love to know that. And any fantasies that you are intrigued. I'm a little nervous about picking up like new fantasies, because I feel like now they're kind of a dime a dozen, and they're more leaning along the lines of fantasy that I don't like. So I don't know. If you feel like you know my taste in fantasy and you have some recommendations for me, put them in the comments down below. I'm wishing you all a wonderful new year. I'm hoping that you meet your reading goals for the year and find all the books that you're desiring to read. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified at any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.